When I refused to get plastic surgery to fix my face, my mom sat on my couch, smiled coldly, and said, "Those things are easier to achieve when you're beautiful." I said nothing. That was 6 months ago. Yesterday, she called me 23 times in a row and left voicemails crying. My mom beat it into me from a young age that my worth was directly, indisputably, irrefutably correlated with my beauty. When I was 6 years old, while all my friends were learning how to ride a bike, I was learning how to use lipstick without overlining. She made sure my diet was strictly optimized so that I wouldn't be a late bloomer for puberty. This combined with my genetics meant that by the time I turned 13, I looked like a fully grown woman. And as if this wasn't bad enough, my mom only bought me clothes that tethered on breaking my school's dress code. Bicycle shorts, spaghetti straps, crop tops, everything. Naturally, every guy wanted me. Not even just the ones in my class, the ones on the streets too. Whenever me and my mom walked together and I got catcalled, she'd squeeze my hand and remind me of what a bright future I had, that she was proud of me. On the other hand, if I didn't get catcalled or at least ogled, she'd give me the silent treatment. Even my teenage self knew what she was doing was wrong, because teachers gave out to me all the time for being distracting, but I didn't care, because to me, my mom's approval was like oxygen. Fast forward to now. I'm now 24, and I hadn't seen my mom since I left for college. This was mainly because of a car accident I had gotten into. It wasn't like I was left immobilized or anything, but there was scarring on my face. Very obvious. Large scarring. One that no amount of concealer could possibly hide. But last Thanksgiving, I finally faced my fears and went home to visit my mama. For the most part, I still looked pretty good. Except I had dropped the whole clueless bimbo look and was more of a natural girly. I kept telling myself that I was my mom's daughter, that she would love me no matter what, that all that stuff was in the past. Turns out the drive over would be the highlight of our reunion, because as soon as she opened the door, her face fell. It was like that scene in Tangled where Rapunzel cuts her hair. And my mother, of course, was Gothel. "What have you done?" she roared. It was like there was something stuck in my throat and no words came out, but my mom didn't have that problem. "Really, Julia? After everything I've done for you, this is how you choose to repay me?" I heard footsteps behind her, and a man I'd never seen before, probably her 50th boyfriend, came to the door. His eyes ran along my body before saying, "I thought you said your daughter was beautiful?" A tear fell from my right eye. "I'm sorry," I whispered, voice shaking. My mom was about to say something, but I didn't have the strength to hear it, so I just left. As I sat in the front seat of my car, I did what I spent my entire life doing. I grabbed a mirror from my purse and stared at myself. "You're disgusting. You're ugly. You are a worthless piece of shitty," were all phrases that instinctively filled my head. But that time, I did something I'd never done before. "No," I said out loud. I started to admire my features. I looked at my eyes, the way they shone in the light, the way they told the world that I wasn't just a pretty face, that I was a woman with a story. Smile lines filled my cheeks, and instead of hating myself, I smiled even harder. It was like I was having an awakening. I didn't need to be beautiful to deserve love, and as much as that realization made me smile, it also made me angry, because it meant my mom was wrong, that I never deserved to be objectified at such a young age, that I never deserved to be forced to flaunt my assets on Instagram, that I never deserved to be constantly reminded that beauty is something that requires complete devotion. I immediately stormed out of my car and walked back up to my mom's front door. Her boyfriend answered again. I pushed past him and walked right up to her. While locking eyes, I grabbed the makeup remover wipes from my purse and cleaned my face. I swear I thought she was going to faint, but I hadn't had enough. Not yet. So I marched upstairs, grabbed a handful of her most expensive eyeshadows, scooped them out onto the marble floor with my bare hands before smearing it everywhere. My mom slapped me across the face, but I didn't care, because for the first time ever, I was the one in control. So when she tried her usual speech and said, "You're going to die alone, no man will ever want you," I just walked out. But this time, it was for good. I had no intention of ever being in contact with her again. When I got home, I cried. Not just for me, but for my inner child. The one who never got a childhood. The one who never got the chance to enjoy life. I ended up crying myself to sleep. I woke up the next morning to my phone buzzing. It was the 23rd missed call I had received. I didn't pick up, and instead listened to the voicemails. The first one was angry. The second was threatening. By the 10th, my mom was practically begging to talk about this rationally. I deleted them all and blocked her number. That night, I ordered a pizza. A whole pizza just for me, with extra cheese and pepperoni, all the things my mom never let me eat growing up. I ate it straight from the box while watching trashy reality TV in my pajamas. It was a small act of rebellion, but it felt huge. The next morning, I woke up to someone knocking on my apartment door. When I looked through the peephole, I nearly had a heart attack. It was my mom, looking perfectly put together as always, standing in my hallway. I opened the door but kept the security chain on. "How did you find my address?" I asked. "I have my ways," she said, which was exactly the kind of creepy non-answer I'd expect from her. "Let me in, Julia. We need to talk." "No," I said firmly. "I don't want to talk to you. Don't be ridiculous. I drove 5 hours to get here. The least you can do is hear me out." I hesitated, then closed the door, unhooked the chain, chain and let her in. Not because I wanted to, but because I knew she'd make a scene in the hallway if I didn't, and my neighbors didn't deserve that. My mom walked into my apartment and immediately started examining everything with that critical eye of hers. I could see her taking mental notes. The mismatched furniture, the lack of decorative pillows, the coffee mug with yesterday's coffee still sitting on the table. "So this is how you live," she said, making it sound like I was squatting in an abandoned building rather than living in a perfectly normal apartment. "What do you want, Mom?" I asked, crossing my arms. She set her designer purse down on my coffee table and turned to face me. "I want to help you fix this," she said, gesturing toward my face. I should have known. Of course, she wasn't here to apologize or make amends. She was here to fix me. "There's nothing to fix," I said. "The doctors did everything they could. The scars are permanent." "Don't be naive, Julia. There are excellent plastic surgeons who can minimize those marks. I've already made some calls. Dr. Levinson in Beverly Hills is the best in the business for scar revision. He can see you next month." I stared at her, genuinely speechless. After everything that had happened yesterday, she still didn't get it. She still thought the problem was my appearance, not her obsession with it. "I'm not getting plastic surgery," I said finally. "Don't be stubborn. Insurance won't cover it, of course, but I'm willing to pay. Consider it a Christmas gift. I don't want your money, and I don't want surgery. I'm fine with my face the way it is." My mom laughed, that condescending laugh she used whenever she thought I was being particularly stupid. "No one is fine looking like that, Julia. Don't be ridiculous." "I am," I insisted, "and even if I wasn't, it wouldn't matter. There are more important things than looking perfect all the time." She sat down on my couch, crossing her legs primly. "Like what? Like being a good person. Like having real connections with people who care about you. Like doing work that matters. Those things are easier to achieve when you're beautiful," she said, as if explaining something obvious to a child. "That's what you don't understand. Beauty opens doors. It always has. Maybe some doors aren't worth going through if that's the price of admission," I said. My mom sighed dramatically. "I don't know where I went wrong with you. I gave you every advantage. Do you know how many women would kill to look like you did? To have the opportunities you had? You mean the opportunity to be ogled by grown men when I was 12? The opportunity to base my entire self-worth on something as fleeting as appearance? Those opportunities? Don't twist my words," she snapped. "I was preparing you for the real world. It's not my fault if you're too naive to appreciate that." I shook my head. "The real world isn't as shallow as you think it is, Mom. Or maybe your world is, but mine isn't. I have friends who don't care about my scars. I have a job where I'm valued for my brain, not my face. I have a life that doesn't revolve around looking perfect every minute of every day. And what happens when you want to get married? Have a family? No decent man is going to—" "Stop," I interrupted. "Just stop. Any man who wouldn't want me because of some scars isn't someone I'd want anyway, and I'd rather be alone than with someone that shallow." My mom stood up, smoothing her skirt. "I can see this conversation is pointless. You've always been stubborn, just like your father." That comparison surprised me. My dad had left when I was 4, and my mom rarely mentioned him. "What do you mean?" "He never understood the importance of appearances either. Always said I was too focused on the superficial. Look where that got him. Working some mediocre job in Arizona, married to a woman who let herself go after their first kid." She picked up her purse. "I'll leave the surgeon's card on the table. When you come to your senses, give him a call. The offer to pay stands for now." She walked to the door, then turned back. "You know, Julia, I only ever wanted what was best for you. Everything I did was to give you advantages I never had. I know you believe that," I said quietly. "That's what makes it so sad." After she left, I sat on my couch feeling drained but somehow lighter. For the first time, I'd stood my ground with her. I hadn't caved to her pressure or manipulation. I'd spoken my truth and let it stand. I picked up the surgeon's card she'd left and tore it into tiny pieces. That evening, my friend Morgan came over with wine and takeout. I'd texted her about my mom's surprise visit, and she'd immediately offered to come provide moral support. Morgan was one of the first real friends I'd made in college. The kind of friend who knew all my baggage and liked me anyway. "So she just showed up? No warning?" Morgan asked, pouring us each a generous glass of red wine. "Yep, complete ambush. I grabbed a container of pad thai and dug in. Classic mom move. And she tried to get you to have plastic surgery? Jesus Christ." Morgan shook her head. "No offense, but your mom is a piece of work." I laughed. "No offense taken. Trust me, I know." "So what now?" Morgan asked. "Think she'll come back?" I shrugged. "Probably. She doesn't give up easily. But I'm done letting her make me feel like crap about myself." "Good," Morgan said firmly, "because your scars are badass. They make you look like a warrior." I smiled at that. "A warrior, huh? I like that." "Seriously though," Morgan continued, "I'm proud of you. Standing up to parents is hard, especially when they're as intense as your mom." We spent the rest of the evening talking and laughing, and for a while I forgot about my mom and her surgeon and all the baggage that came with her. It was just me and my friend, enjoying each other's company without any pressure or expectations. The next morning, I woke up to a text from a number I didn't recognize. It was from Robert, my mom's boyfriend. "Julia, I wanted to apologize for what I said when we met. It was thoughtless and cruel. I was caught off guard, but that's no excuse. I'm truly sorry." I stared at the message, surprised by the apology. I hadn't expected to hear from him at all, let alone receive an apology. After thinking about it for a while, I simply replied, "Thank you for saying that." Over the next few days, I received occasional updates from Robert. He wasn't pushy or intrusive, just brief messages letting me know how my mom was doing. "Your mom's been quiet today, staring at old photo albums." Or, "She mentioned you 3 times during dinner." I wasn't sure why he was telling me these things, but I found myself appreciating the window into her life. About a week after our confrontation, Robert texted, "Your mom and I have been dating for 8 months. She's talked about you constantly the whole time, always showing me photos, telling stories about you. I think in her own dysfunctional way, she really does love you." I didn't know how to respond to that. Part of me wanted to believe it was true, that somewhere beneath all the criticism and control, my mom actually loved me for me. But another part remembered all the conditional affection, all the times her love depended on how I looked or how much attention I attracted. December arrived, bringing with it all the holiday decorations and music that usually made me feel cheerful. This year, though, I felt a strange mix of emotions. Relief at not having to fake my way through another family holiday. Sadness at the realization that I didn't really have a family anymore. Freedom from the pressure to look perfect in holiday photos. Loneliness at the thought of Christmas morning alone. Morgan invited me to join her family for Christmas, but I declined. They were flying to Florida to visit her grandparents, and while the invitation was sweet, I didn't want to intrude on their family time. My other close friend, David, was going to his boyfriend's parents' place in Vermont. It seemed like everyone had somewhere to be except me. 3 weeks before Christmas, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. "Julia, it's your Aunt Kathy, your mom's sister. I know we haven't spoken in years, but I heard about what happened at Thanksgiving. Would you be open to talking?" I stared at the message for a long time. Aunt Kathy. I hadn't seen her since I was maybe 10 years old. My mom and her sister had some kind of falling out when I was young, and Kathy had essentially disappeared from our lives. I had vague memories of her, a woman with my mom's features but a softer expression, who used to bring me books instead of beauty products when she visited. I hesitated, then replied, "Hi, Aunt Kathy. Yes, I'd be open to talking." We arranged to meet at a coffee shop halfway between our cities the following weekend. I was nervous the entire drive there, not sure what to expect. Was she like my mom? Was this some kind of trap? But curiosity won out over caution. The coffee shop was crowded with holiday shoppers when I arrived. I scanned the room, not sure if I'd even recognize Kathy after all these years. Then a woman at a corner table raised her hand and waved. I walked over, heart pounding. Aunt Kathy looked like an alternate universe version of my mom. Same blonde hair, though hers was cut in a practical bob rather than my mom's elaborate style. Same facial structure, but with laugh lines and a natural look instead of Botox and heavy makeup. She stood up when I approached and hesitated, like she wasn't sure if she should hug me. I made the decision for her and stepped forward for a quick, somewhat awkward embrace. We both sat down, and for a moment, neither of us spoke. "Thank you for meeting me," she finally said. "I wasn't sure you would." "Honestly, I wasn't sure I would either," I admitted. "It's been a long time. Too long," she agreed. "That's my fault, and I'm sorry for it. Your mother and I, well, we've never seen eye to eye, especially about parenting. After our last big fight, she made it clear I wasn't welcome in your life anymore." "What was the fight about?" I asked, though I had a pretty good guess. Kathy sighed. "You, actually." I confronted her about the way she was raising you, the pageants, the diets, the inappropriate clothing. I told her she was setting you up for a lifetime of insecurity and unhealthy relationships. She didn't take it well. I nodded slowly. "That sounds like Mom. I should have tried harder to stay in touch with you," Kathy said, regret clear in her voice. "I told myself you were her daughter, not mine, and I didn't have the right to interfere. But I've always wondered about you, Julia. I've always hoped you were okay." "I'm getting there," I said honestly. "It's been a process." We talked for hours. Kathy told me about her life. She was a high school English teacher, married to a kind man named Michael, with 2 teenage kids of her own. I told her about college, my job, my friends, and eventually, I told her about the accident and the confrontation with my mom at Thanksgiving. "That sounds exactly like my sister," Kathy said sadly. "She's always been obsessed with appearances. Even when we were kids, she was the one who had to have the perfect outfit, the perfect hair. Our parents encouraged it, especially our mom. She was a beauty queen back in her day, always pushing Sandra to follow in her footsteps. So it's generational," I said. "Great. It is, but it doesn't have to continue with you," Kathy pointed out. "You're already breaking the cycle." As we were getting ready to leave, Kathy hesitated, then asked, "Do you have plans for Christmas? Michael and I would love to have you join us. The kids would be thrilled to finally meet their cousin." I was surprised by how emotional the invitation made me. "Are you sure? I don't want to impose." "You wouldn't be imposing at all," she assured me. "We have plenty of room, and our Christmases are very low-key. No pressure, no expectations, just good food and bad board games." "That sounds really nice, actually," I said. "Thank you." On the drive home, I thought about how different my life might have been if Aunt Kathy had been allowed to stay in it, if I'd had someone to counterbalance my mom's toxic messages about beauty and worth. It made me sad, but it also gave me hope. Maybe it wasn't too late to have that kind of healthy relationship in my life. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of work deadlines and holiday preparations. I bought modest gifts for Kathy's family, not wanting to show up empty-handed, but also not wanting to overdo it for people I barely knew. Morgan helped me pick out something for each person: books for Kathy, a nice bottle of whiskey for Michael, and gift cards for my teenage cousins. "Are you nervous?" Morgan asked as we wrapped the presents in my living room. "Terrified," I admitted. "What if they take one look at me and regret inviting me?" Morgan rolled her eyes. "Not everyone is as shallow as your mom, Julia. From what you've told me, your aunt seems like a decent human being who genuinely wants to connect with you." I know. Old insecurities die hard, I guess. "Well, kill them with fire," Morgan said firmly. "You deserve a nice Christmas with people who actually care about you." 3 days before I was supposed to leave for Kathy's, my mom showed up at my apartment again. This time, she didn't even bother knocking, just used the spare key I'd forgotten she had from helping me move in years ago. I was in the shower when I heard movement in my living room. Thinking it was a break-in, I wrapped myself in a towel and grabbed the only weapon available, a plunger. I crept out of the bathroom, heart racing, only to find my mom sitting on my couch like she owned the place. "Jesus Christ, Mom!" I yelped, clutching my towel tighter. "You can't just walk into my apartment." "I knocked," she said defensively. "You didn't answer, so you just let yourself in? That's not normal behavior." She waved her hand dismissively. "We need to talk, and you've been ignoring my calls. What choice did I have?" I took a deep breath, trying to calm down. "Give me 5 minutes to get dressed, then we can talk. And I'm taking that key back before you leave." In my bedroom, I quickly pulled on jeans and a sweater, trying to process what was happening. Why was she here? What could be so important that it warranted breaking into my apartment? I took a moment to center myself, remembering all the progress I'd made in standing up to her. I wouldn't let her bulldoze me this time. When I came back to the living room, my mom was examining the Christmas presents I'd wrapped for Kathy's family. "What are these?" she asked, picking up the gift tag for Michael. "Christmas presents," I said, taking the package from her and putting it back with the others. "For who? You don't have a boyfriend named Michael." I hesitated, then decided to just be direct. "They're for Aunt Kathy and her family. I'm spending Christmas with them." My mom's face went through several expressions in rapid succession: surprise, confusion, anger, and finally, a cold mask of indifference. "Kathy? My sister Kathy?" "Yes." "How did you even get in touch with her?" "She texted me after Thanksgiving. We met for coffee." My mom laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Of course she did. Always waiting for an opportunity to swoop in and play the hero. And you fell for it." "There was no falling for anything, Mom. She reached out, we talked, and she invited me for Christmas. It's not a conspiracy." "So you're choosing her over me? After everything I've done for you?" I sighed. "I'm not choosing anyone over anyone. You and I aren't in a good place right now, and Kathy offered me somewhere to spend the holiday. That's all." "That's rich," my mom scoffed. "She criticizes my parenting for years, then tries to steal my daughter the first chance she gets. She's not stealing me. I'm an adult making my own choices." My mom stood up, grabbing her purse. "Fine, go play Happy Families with Kathy. See if I care. But don't come crying to me when you realize she only invited you to spite me." "Is that really what you think?" I asked. "That the only reason anyone would want to spend time with me is to get at you somehow? Why else would she suddenly want a relationship with you after all these years? Maybe because she cares about me? Maybe because we're family?" My mom rolled her eyes. "You're so naive, Julia. Always have been." She walked to the door, then turned back. "By the way, I came here to tell you I've decided to sell the house, the one you grew up in. I'm moving to Florida with Robert. We're getting married in the spring." This news hit me harder than I expected. The house had so many complicated memories attached to it, most bad, some good, but it was still the place I'd grown up. And now my mom was selling it and marrying a man she'd only been dating for 8 months, who had insulted me within seconds of meeting me. "Congratulations," I said flatly. "I hope you'll be very happy together." "We will be," she said with a smug smile. "Robert appreciates a woman who takes care of herself, unlike some people." With that parting shot, she left, slamming the door behind her. I stood in my living room, trying to process what had just happened. My mom was moving to Florida, getting married, selling my childhood home, and she was still, after everything, taking digs at my appearance. But instead of feeling devastated, I felt relieved, like a weight had been lifted. My mom moving across the country might actually be the best thing for both of us. Distance would make it easier to maintain the boundaries I was trying to establish. I picked up my phone and texted Kathy. "Just had a visit from Mom. She knows I'm coming for Christmas and isn't happy about it. Still want me to come?" Her response came quickly. "Absolutely. Nothing my sister says or does will change that. We're looking forward to seeing you." For the first time in a long time, I felt like I had family who accepted me just as I was. No conditions, no expectations, no pressure to be anyone other than myself. As I finished packing for my trip to Kathy's, I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror. The scars were still there, of course. They always would be. But they didn't define me anymore. They were just part of my story, a story that was still being written, on my terms. I touched one of the scars gently, tracing its path across my cheek. "Thank you," I whispered to my reflection. It might sound strange, but in a way, these scars had set me free. They had forced me to confront the toxic relationship with my mother, to recognize my own worth beyond physical appearance, to find people who valued me for who I truly was. For the first time in my life, I was looking forward to the future, scars and all. I listened to all the voicemails one by one. It was like watching someone go through the stages of grief, except my mom wasn't grieving. She was just pissed that I'd finally stood up to her. The first few messages were pure rage. She called me ungrateful, disrespectful, and a bunch of other names I won't repeat. By message 5, she was threatening to cut me off financially, which was hilarious since I'd been supporting myself since college. Around message 15, her tone changed. She started talking about how worried she was about me, how I wasn't thinking clearly, how I needed her help to get through this difficult time. Classic manipulation. By the final messages, she was practically begging me to call her back so we could work this out like adults. I deleted every single one and blocked her number. Then I blocked her on all social media for good measure. I knew from experience that she'd try to reach me through any channel possible. For the next few days, I felt weirdly empty, like I'd been carrying this massive weight for my entire life, and suddenly it was gone. I didn't know what to do with myself. I called in sick to work and just stayed in bed, alternating between sleeping and staring at the ceiling. Morgan came by with soup and stayed for a while, but I wasn't great company. "You did the right thing," she kept telling me. "You know that, right?" I nodded, but honestly, I wasn't sure. 24 years of conditioning doesn't disappear overnight. Part of me still felt like I was the one who'd done something wrong. A week after the Thanksgiving disaster, I dragged myself back to work. My boss Taylor noticed something was off but didn't push. She just assigned me some straightforward tasks that kept me busy without requiring too much creative energy. I was grateful for that. During lunch, I got another text from Robert. "Your mom's been in a bad way since you left. She keeps looking at your old photos and crying. I've never seen her like this." I didn't respond. I wasn't sure what to make of these updates. Part of me was skeptical. Was he trying to manipulate me into reaching out to her? But another part was curious about how she was really processing everything. The text continued over the next few days. "Your mom threw out all her makeup today. Said what was the point anymore. And later, she called your aunt and yelled at her for an hour. Something about stealing you away." I still didn't respond, but I found myself looking forward to these glimpses into my mom's life. It was like watching a reality show where I knew all the characters but didn't have to participate. 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, Morgan convinced me to go out for drinks with her and some friends. I was reluctant. The idea of being in public still made me anxious. I'd gotten used to the stares my scars attracted, but that didn't mean I enjoyed them. "You can't hide in your apartment forever," Morgan argued. "Plus, David's bringing his new boyfriend, and I need backup in case he's awful." So I went. We met at this dive bar downtown that had cheap beer and good nachos. David's new boyfriend turned out to be this super nice guy named Jordan who worked as a nurse. He didn't stare at my scars or ask awkward questions about them. He just treated me like a normal person, which was refreshing. A few drinks in, I started to relax. It felt good to be out, to laugh, to talk about normal stuff like movies and work drama. Then I went to the bathroom and ran into this girl from high school, Amber something. She'd been one of the popular girls who'd always been nice to my face but talked crap behind my back. "Oh my God, Julia," she said, eyes wide. "I almost didn't recognize you." I nodded, trying to move past her to the sink. "What happened to your face?" she asked, not even trying to be subtle. "Car accident," I said shortly. "That's awful," she said, but her tone suggested she thought it was more fascinating than awful. "You used to be so pretty." And there it was, the thing everyone thought but most people had the decency not to say out loud. I should have been hurt. I should have been embarrassed. But instead, I just felt tired. "I'm still pretty," I said, "and I'm also smart, funny, and good at my job. But thanks for your concern." I walked out before she could respond, feeling a strange sense of calm. A year ago, hell, even a month ago, a comment like that would have destroyed me. Now it just rolled off my back. When I got back to the table, Morgan took one look at my face and asked, "What happened?" I told them about the encounter, expecting sympathy. Instead, they all burst out laughing. "You're still pretty?" Jordan repeated, high-fiving me. "That's badass." "Amber was always a bitch," David added. "Remember when she told everyone I stuffed my pants in 10th grade? We spent the rest of the night sharing stories about high school bullies and how pathetic they seemed now. By the time we left, my sides hurt from laughing. The next morning, I woke up to another text from Robert. "Your mom's selling the house, moving to Florida, says there's too many memories here." This one hit me harder than the others. The house I grew up in, gone. It wasn't a happy place, but it was still part of my history. I had this sudden urge to see it one more time before it was sold. Without overthinking it, I got in my car and drove the 5 hours to my hometown. It was early evening by the time I arrived. I parked across the street from my old house and just sat there staring at it. The lights were on inside. My mom's car was in the driveway, along with Robert's expensive SUV SUV. I don't know what I expected to feel. Nostalgia? Sadness? But all I felt was nothing. It was just a house. A building where some bad things and a few good things had happened. It didn't have any power over me anymore. I was about to drive away when the front door opened. My mom stepped out, followed by Robert. They were dressed up like they were going out to dinner. My mom was laughing at something Robert said, her head thrown back. She looked happy. I slumped down in my seat, not wanting to be seen. They got into Robert's car and drove off, not noticing me parked across the street. Once they were gone, I had another impulse. I got out of my car, walked up to the house, and used my old key to let myself in. It still worked. Standing in the entryway was surreal. Everything looked exactly the same, but somehow smaller than I remembered. I walked through each room slowly, memories flooding back. The kitchen where my mom had measured out my portions. The living room where I'd practiced walking in heels for hours. The bathroom where I'd learned to apply makeup before I could even read properly. I went upstairs to my old bedroom. It had been converted into a home office. All traces of my existence erased. That should have hurt, but it was actually fitting. I'd been erasing myself for years to please my mom. Now she'd just made it official. The last room I visited was my mom's bedroom. Her vanity was still there, covered in expensive creams and makeup. I sat down on the little stool and looked at myself in the mirror, just like I'd done countless times as a child. My reflection stared back at me. Scars, messy hair, dark circles under my eyes from the long drive. But for the first time, I didn't see all the flaws my mom had trained me to look for. I just saw me, Julia, a person who'd been through some crap, but was still standing. I opened one of the drawers and found a small photo album I'd never seen before. Inside were pictures of me, not the posed, perfect ones my mom had always preferred, but candid shots. Me laughing at something off camera, me asleep on the couch with a book on my chest, me as a toddler, covered in mud and grinning. The last page had a recent photo, me at my college graduation. I remembered my mom taking it right after the ceremony. In it, I was smiling so wide my eyes were almost closed, diploma clutched to my chest. I looked happy. I looked proud. I looked like someone who had her whole life ahead of her. I took that photo out of the album and put it in my pocket. Then I left the house, locking the door behind me. Back in my car, I checked my phone and saw 3 missed calls from Morgan. I called her back. "Where the hell are you?" she demanded. "I came by your place and you weren't there. You didn't show up for work. I was worried." "I'm at my mom's house," I said. Or what used to be my mom's house, I guess. "What? Why?" "I needed to see it one more time. For closure or whatever." "Are you okay?" Morgan asked, her voice softening. "Yeah," I said, surprised to realize it was true. "I really am." "Good. Now get your ass back here. David and Jordan are making dinner and they invited us over." I smiled. "I'll be there in 5 hours." The drive back felt different somehow, lighter, like I'd left something behind in that house, something heavy I'd been carrying for too long. When I got back to my apartment, there was a package waiting outside my door. No return address. I opened it cautiously and found a small jewelry box inside. In it was a delicate silver necklace with a pendant shaped like a butterfly. There was also a note. "Julia, this was your grandmother's. My mother gave it to me when I turned 18, and I always planned to give it to you. I should have done it years ago. It's yours now. No strings attached. Love, Mom." I held the necklace up to the light. It was beautiful in a simple, understated way. Nothing like the flashy jewelry my mom usually wore. I put it on, the pendant cool against my skin. The next day at work, Taylor called me into her office. I was sure I was in trouble for missing the day before, but instead, she offered me a promotion. The company was expanding, opening a new branch in Seattle, and they wanted me to head up the marketing team there. "Me?" I asked, genuinely shocked. "Why me?" "Because you're good at your job," Taylor said simply. "And because I think you're ready for a fresh start. A fresh start. In a new city where nobody knew me or had any expectations about how I should look." It was terrifying and exciting all at once. "Can I think about it?" I asked. "Take the weekend," Taylor said. "But just so you know, I already told the higher-ups you'd say yes." I spent that weekend making lists of pros and cons, talking it through with Morgan and David, and generally freaking out about the decision. By Sunday night, I knew what I wanted to do. I called Taylor and accepted the job. Then I called my mom. It went to voicemail, which was probably for the best. "Mom, it's me," I said after the beep. "I got your necklace. Thank you. I'm moving to Seattle for a new job. I don't know when I'll be back. I think we both need some space to figure out who we are without each other. I hope Florida makes you happy." I hung up, feeling like I'd just closed a chapter of my life. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of preparations. Finding an apartment in Seattle, packing up my stuff, saying goodbye to friends. Morgan threw me a going-away party that ended with all of us drunk and emotional, promising to visit each other all the time. The night before I left, I got one final text from Robert. "Your mom listened to your voicemail about 20 times. She's trying, in her way. Safe travels to Seattle." I didn't respond, but I saved the message. The drive to Seattle took 3 days. I took the scenic route, stopping whenever I felt like it. I ate whatever I wanted. I didn't wear makeup. I didn't check my reflection in every store window window I passed. I just existed, taking up space in the world without apologizing for it. My new apartment was small but had amazing light and a view of the water. My new team at work was talented and welcoming. My new neighbors didn't stare at my scars or ask invasive questions. On my first Friday night in Seattle, I went to a local bar by myself, something I never would have done before. I sat at the counter, ordered a beer, and just people watched. A guy a few seats down kept glancing my way. He was cute in a nerdy way, with glasses and messy hair. Eventually, he moved to the seat next to mine. "Hi," he said. "I'm Dakota." "Julia," I replied. "Can I buy you a drink?" he asked. "Sure," I said. "But just so you know, I'm not looking for anything serious right now. I just moved here and I'm focusing on my career." Dakota smiled. "That's cool. I just moved here too. Maybe we could be friends? Show each other around the city as we discover it?" "Friends? That sounded nice." "I'd like that," I said. We spent the rest of the evening talking about books and movies and our jobs. Not once did he mention my scars or make me feel like I should be grateful for his attention. He treated me like a person, not a project or a prize. When I got home that night, I had a text from an unknown number. It was a photo of a Florida beach at sunset, with the simple caption, "New beginnings. Love, Mom." I saved the photo but didn't respond. Maybe someday we'd find a way to have a relationship that wasn't toxic. Maybe we wouldn't. Either way, I was going to be okay. The next morning, I woke up early and went for a run along the waterfront. The air was crisp, the sky was clear, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't thinking about how I looked to other people. I was just thinking about how good it felt to be alive, to be moving forward, to be free. As I ran, I caught my reflection in a store window. There I was, scars, messy hair, sweaty face and all. And you know what? I looked pretty damn good.